The medical station called Harmony's Rest floated in the darkness of space like a silver flower. It orbited a small moon named Velos 3, far from any planet with life. Ships came here from all corners of the galaxy. The sick came, the injured came, the dying came, and the doctors of Harmony's Rest helped them all. Dr. Tilla had worked at this station for 30 cycles. That was a very long time. She had seen many things. She had treated patients with 6 legs and patients with no legs at all. She had healed creatures made of crystal and creatures made of gas. She had worked on beings so small they fit in her palm, and beings so large they filled entire rooms. Dr. Tilla was a Malorian. Her skin was blue and slightly see-through, like colored glass. She had 4 arms, each one thin and graceful. Her eyes were large and silver, and they could see things that other species could not see. She was considered one of the best doctors on the station. Today had been a quiet day. The waiting room held only a few patients. A Veloci merchant sat in the corner, holding one of his many tentacles. He had sprained it while lifting cargo. He made small sounds of pain every few moments. Near the window, a Corvani diplomat waited with her assistant. She had eaten something bad and her stomach was upset. Nothing serious. Dr. Tilla's assistant was a young Philoxi named Ren. He was covered in soft brown fur, and his ears were large and pointed. He was new to the station. Only 3 cycles into his training, he was eager to learn, but he scared easily. The afternoon was peaceful. Then the emergency doors opened. The sound made everyone look up. Emergency arrivals were not unusual at Harmony's Rest, but something about this one felt different. The air itself seemed to change. It grew heavy and thick. A figure stood in the doorway. It was a human. Dr. Tilla had seen humans before, but not many. They were a young species in the galaxy. They had only been traveling among the stars for a few hundred cycles. Most aliens did not think much of them. Humans were soft. They had no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. They could not breathe underwater or survive in vacuum. They seemed fragile, but this human did not look fragile. He looked like death walking. His name was Kang Do-hyun, though no one knew this yet. He was a cargo pilot from a ship called Soul's Promise. His flight suit was torn in many places. The fabric was burned and blackened. Blood covered the left side of his face, flowing from a deep cut above his eye. His right arm hung at a strange angle. His steps were uneven, and each one seemed to cause him great pain. But he was walking. He was standing. He was conscious. The automatic medical scanner activated the moment he entered. A beam of blue light passed over his body. The results appeared on a screen near Ren's station. Ren looked at the screen. His fur stood up on his body. His eyes went wide. The datapad in his hand slipped and fell to the floor with a loud clatter. Dr. Tilla turned to look at her assistant. "Ren? What is it?" Ren could not speak. He could only point at the screen. Dr. Tilla walked over and looked at the results. For a moment, she did not believe what she saw. She checked the scanner to make sure it was working. It was working perfectly. The human had 17 fractured bones. His left leg had 3 breaks. His right arm had 2. 4 of his ribs were cracked. His collarbone was broken. His pelvis had a fracture. Several small bones in his hands and feet were damaged. One of his lungs had collapsed. He was bleeding inside his body. Burns covered 12% of his skin. By every medical standard Dr. Tilla knew, this human should be unconscious. He should be in shock. He should be lying on the ground, unable to move. By some standards, he should already be dead. But he was standing in her waiting room. The Veloci merchant saw the human and made a sound of pure terror. His tentacles pulled close to his body. The Corvani diplomat stood up so fast that she knocked over her chair. Her assistant grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the back of the room. Everyone in the waiting area was frozen. They stared at the human like he was a monster, like he was a ghost, like he was something that should not exist. Kang Do-hyun looked around the room. He saw their faces. He saw their fear. And then he did something that made everything worse. He smiled. It was a small smile. Tired. pained, but real. "Sorry to interrupt," he said. His voice was rough and dry, like he had been breathing smoke. "Is there a doctor available? I think I need some help." No one moved. No one spoke. Do-hyun waited for a moment. When no one answered, he simply nodded. Then he walked to the nearest bench and sat down. He moved carefully, slowly, like every motion cost him something precious. When he finally sat, he let out a long breath. Then he leaned back against the wall and waited. He waited his turn. Like he was here for a minor problem. Like he had a small cut or a mild fever. Like his body was not broken in 17 different places. Dr. Tilla found her voice. "Everyone out," she said to the other patients. "Now, please use the secondary exit." The Veloci merchant did not need to be told twice. He moved faster than she had ever seen a Veloci move, his tentacles carrying him out of the room in seconds. The Corvani diplomat and her assistant followed close behind. Within moments, the waiting room was empty, except for the human. Ren had not moved. He was still staring at the screen, his whole body shaking. "Ren," Dr. Tilla said firmly, "I need you with me. Can you do this?" The young Philoxy swallowed hard. He picked up his datapad from the floor. His paws were trembling, but he nodded. "Yes, doctor." Dr. Tilla walked toward the human. Her 4 hands were already reaching for her medical tools. She pulled out a portable scanner, and a neural monitor, and a tissue analyzer. She needed more information. She needed to understand how this was possible. "Human," she said as she approached. "Can you hear me?" Do-hyun opened his eyes. They were dark brown, and despite everything, they were clear. Alert. "I can hear you, doctor. You need emergency treatment. You need it now." "I know." He did not seem concerned. Dr. Tilla stopped. She could not have heard that correctly. "Worse? How could you have had worse?" Do-hyun shifted slightly, and she saw him wince. "Motorcycle accident back on Earth. Year 2147. Broke 22 bones that time. Doctor said I would never walk again." He looked down at his legs. They were wrong. Ren made a small squeaking sound. Dr. Tilla ignored him. "You have 17 fractures right now," she said. "You have internal bleeding. Your lung is collapsed. Your pain levels should have rendered you unconscious long ago. How are you sitting here talking to me?" Do-hyun seemed to think about this question, like it was a puzzle he had never really considered. "I guess I just don't like giving up," he said finally. "My mother always said I was stubborn." Dr. Tilla had studied many species. She had learned about their bodies, their minds, their limits. She knew that every species had a breaking point, a level of damage that would shut them down, stop them, end them. She was beginning to think that humans did not have that limit. Or if they did, it was somewhere so far beyond normal that it might as well not exist. "We need to begin treatment immediately," she said. "Ren, prepare emergency bay 3. Full surgical setup. And call Dr. Voss for assistance." Ren nodded and ran off, grateful to have something to do that took him away from the terrifying human. Dr. Tilla looked at her patient. "Can you walk to the treatment room? Or do you need transport?" Do-hyun pushed himself up from the bench. The motion should have been impossible. His body should have refused. But he stood, swaying slightly, and took a step forward. "I can walk," he said. "Lead the way." Dr. Tilla led him down the corridor. She moved slowly, matching his painful pace. With every step, she heard small sounds from him. Quiet grunts, sharp intakes of breath, the sounds of a body screaming in protest. But he kept walking. As they moved through the station, other aliens stopped to stare. A group of Philoxy traders pressed themselves against the wall. A tall Corvani security officer put his hand on his weapon, then slowly took it away. A Malorian child pointed and asked her mother what was wrong with the strange creature. Kang Do-hyun ignored them all. He kept his eyes forward. He kept moving. When they finally reached the emergency bay, he sat down on the treatment bed. For the first time, Dr. Tilla saw something like relief on his face. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Save your thanks," she replied. You are not out of danger yet. He nodded. I know, but I'm here. That's something. Dr. Tilla began preparing her instruments. But there was one question she had to ask. One thing she needed to understand. Human, she said. Do-hyun. How did you get here? What happened to you? Do-hyun closed his eyes. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with exhaustion. My ship crashed, he said. Pirates attacked us near the moon. We went down hard. The ship broke apart on impact. He paused. My crew is still down there. 3 of them. They're hurt. They need help. Dr. Tilla's 4 hands went still. Your crew is on the surface of Velos 3? Yes. How far was the crash site from the nearest shuttle bay? About 6 kilometers. Maybe more. 6 kilometers. Dr. Tilla felt cold. The surface of Velos 3 was rocky and harsh. No atmosphere. He would have needed a suit. He would have needed to walk across that terrain. You walked 6 kilometers, she said slowly. With 17 broken bones. With internal bleeding. With a collapsed lung. Yes. And then you flew a shuttle here. By yourself. Yes. Dr. Tilla sat down. She needed to sit down. Her legs would not hold her anymore. Why? She asked. Why didn't you call for help? Why didn't you stay with the ship? Kang Do-hyun opened his eyes. He looked at her. And in his gaze she saw something she had never seen before. Not from any species. Not from any patient. She saw a will that would not break. A determination that went beyond reason. Beyond survival instinct. Beyond everything she understood about living creatures. Because my crew needed me, he said simply. And I don't leave people behind. Then, finally, he let his eyes close. His body relaxed against the bed. But he did not lose consciousness. He simply rested, his vital signs holding steady through some impossible act of will. Dr. Tilla stood up. She had work to do. She had a human to save. And she had a feeling that this was only the beginning. Dr. Tilla had been a doctor for 30 cycles. She had saved lives that others said could not be saved. She had healed wounds that others said could not be healed. She had earned her reputation through skill and dedication and endless hard work. But nothing in her long career had prepared her for Kang Do-hyun. The human lay on the treatment bed, his eyes closed but his mind still awake. The monitors around him showed his vital signs. His heart was beating fast but steady. His blood pressure was low but stable. His brain activity was normal. None of this made sense. Dr. Tilla began her examination. Her 4 hands moved quickly, touching and testing and measuring. Every new discovery made her more confused. The bones are broken, but they are already trying to heal, she said out loud. The fractures show signs of cellular repair activity. Ren stood nearby, holding a datapad and recording everything. His fear had faded somewhat. Now he was simply amazed. How is that possible, doctor? The injuries are only hours old. I do not know. Dr. Tilla moved her scanner over Do-hyun's chest. The lung is collapsed. But his other lung is working harder to compensate. His body is redirecting resources. It is prioritizing what matters most. Do-hyun spoke without opening his eyes. That's what humans do. We adapt. Dr. Tilla looked at him. Most species would be unconscious by now. Their brains would shut down to protect them from the pain. Pain and I are old friends, Do-hyun said. We have an understanding. Ren made a small sound. It might have been a laugh or a gasp. Dr. Tilla was not sure. The door to the emergency bay opened. Another doctor entered. Her name was Dr. Voss. And she was also Malorian. She was older than Tilla, with darker blue skin and 3 missing fingers on one of her hands. She had lost them in an accident many cycles ago. She never spoke about it. Dr. Voss looked at the monitors. She looked at the patient. She looked at Dr. Tilla. Is this real? She asked. It is real. The scanner is not broken? The scanner is working perfectly. Dr. Voss walked closer to the bed. She stared at Do-hyun like he was a puzzle she could not solve. Human. You should not be alive right now. Do-hyun opened his eyes. I get that a lot. This is not a joke. Your injuries are fatal. Then I guess I'm too stubborn to die. He tried to smile, but it turned into a grimace of pain. Can we talk about my crew now? They're still on the surface. Dr. Tilla nodded. We have sent word to the station's rescue team. They are preparing a shuttle. But we need the exact coordinates of the crash. Do-hyun recited the numbers from memory. His voice was steady despite everything. Ren entered the coordinates into his datapad and sent them to the rescue team. How many in your crew? Dr. Voss asked. 3, Park Yoonji, our engineer, Kim Jae-woo, our navigator, Yoon Somi, our communications officer. Do-hyun's voice softened when he said their names. Eunji was hurt. I saw her arm was broken. Jae-woo hit his head during the crash. Somi seemed okay, but she was in shock. They were all alive when I left them. When you left them? Dr. Tilla repeated the words carefully. You left your injured crew on the surface of a hostile moon. I left crew. I had to. The ship's communication system was destroyed. We had no way to call for help. Do-hyun's jaw tightened. I told them I would bring help. I told them to stay together and wait. Then I walked to the shuttle bay, through 6 kilometers of rocky terrain. Yes, with 17 broken bones. I didn't know how many were broken. I just knew things hurt. A lot of things. Doctor, Voss shook her head. You could have died at any moment. Your lung could have fully collapsed. You could have bled out internally. You could have fallen and caused more damage that would have killed you. I know. Do-hyun met her eyes. But if I stayed with the ship, we all would have died. The rescue teams would never find us in time. Someone had to go. I was the least injured. The room went silent. Dr. Tilla felt something cold settle in her chest. This human considered 17 broken bones to be the least injured. What condition were the others in? What horrors had happened on that ship? Your crew, she said slowly. How badly were they hurt? Do-hyun closed his eyes again. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with memory. The pirates came out of nowhere. 3 ships, fast and well-armed. They wanted our cargo. We are a small freighter. We had no weapons. We tried to run, but they were faster. They fired on our engines. We lost control. He paused. His breathing was shallow. We entered the moon's gravity well. I tried to land us safely, but the ship was falling apart. The impact was bad. Very bad. I was in the pilot seat, strapped in tight. That saved me from the worst of it. Ren was recording everything. His paws had stopped trembling. He was completely focused on the human's words. When the ship stopped moving, I looked around. The cockpit was crushed in some places. I couldn't move my legs at first. I thought they were trapped. But then I realized they were just broken. I pulled myself free. Dr. Tilla imagined it. A human, trapped in wreckage, pulling his broken body free. The pain must have been incredible. I found Jae-woo first. He was unconscious. Blood was coming from his head, but he was breathing. I checked him as best I could. His skull seemed intact. Maybe a bad concussion. I made sure he was stable. Then I went to find the others. Do-hyun opened his eyes. They were wet. Eunji was pinned under a piece of the hull. She was awake and screaming. Her arm was crushed. I had to lift the hull off her. I don't know how I did it. I just did it. She passed out from the pain after I freed her, but she was alive. And Somi? Dr. Tilla asked. Somi was in the cargo bay when we crashed. The cargo shifted and created a kind of protective pocket around her. She was barely hurt at all. Just some cuts and bruises. But she was in shock. She couldn't speak. She couldn't move. She just sat there, staring at nothing. Do-hyun took a deep breath. The monitors showed his heart rate increasing. I gathered them all together in the most protected part of the ship. I used the emergency supplies to treat what I could. Bandages for Jae-woo's head. A splint for Yoonji's arm. A blanket for Somi. Then I told them I was going to get help. What did they say? Ren asked. The question slipped out before he could stop it. Do-hyun almost smiled. Eunji called me an idiot. She said I was too hurt to go anywhere. Jae-woo was still unconscious, so he said nothing. And Somi. Somi finally looked at me. She grabbed my hand and said one word. Just one word. What word? Hurry. The room was silent again. Dr. Tilla felt her throat tighten. So I hurried, Do-hyun continued. I found a survival suit in the emergency supplies. I put it on. That was hard, very hard. My arm didn't want to cooperate. My ribs screamed every time I bent over. But I got the suit on. Then I started walking. 6 kilometers, Dr. Voss said. I didn't know the exact distance at the time. I just knew the shuttle bay was north of our position. The suit had a compass and a map. I followed it. He stopped talking. His eyes went distant, like he was seeing the moon's surface again. The rocks. The darkness. The endless, painful journey. The first kilometer was the worst, he said finally. My body kept trying to fall. My legs didn't work right. I fell down 11 times. Each time, I got back up. I had to. Eunji was counting on me. Jae-woo was counting on me. Somi was counting on me. How long did it take? Dr. Tilla asked. 4 hours. Maybe 5. I lost track of time. Everything became about the next step. Just one more step. Just one more. Don't think about the pain. Don't think about the distance. Just move. Keep moving. Don't stop. Ren's datapad made a sound. He looked at it, and his ears went straight up. Doctor. The rescue team has launched. They will reach the crash site in approximately 40 minutes. Do-hyun let out a long breath. Some of the tension left his body. Good. That's good. Dr. Tilla turned to her colleague. Dr. Voss. We need to begin surgery. The internal bleeding must be stopped. The lung needs to be reinflated. The bone fragments need to be stabilized. Agreed. Dr. Voss was already moving toward the surgical equipment. Human. We need to put you under. You cannot be awake for this procedure. Do-hyun shook his head. No sedation. I need to stay conscious. Both doctors stopped. That is not possible, doctor, Tilla said firmly. The procedures we need to perform will cause extreme pain. Even for a human. I don't care. I need to know when my crew is safe. I need to hear that they're okay. Do-hyun's voice was hard. I didn't walk 6 kilometers through hell just to be asleep when they arrive. Dr. Tilla looked at Dr. Voss. Dr. Voss looked back. Neither of them knew what to do. Human, Dr. Tilla said carefully. We cannot perform surgery on a conscious patient. It goes against every medical protocol. Then don't do full surgery. Do what you can without putting me under. Stop the bleeding. Stabilize the bones. Give me whatever drugs won't knock me out. I'll handle the rest. You'll handle it, Dr. Voss repeated. Her voice was flat with disbelief. I'll handle it. The two doctors exchanged another look. This was madness. This went against everything they had been taught, but looking at the human on the bed, looking at the fire in his eyes, they both understood something. He would not give in. He would not be sedated. And if they refused to treat him, he would probably try to get up and walk to the rescue shuttle himself. Fine, Dr. Tilla said. We will do what we can. But you must remain still. Any movement could cause more damage. I'll be still. And if the pain becomes too much, you must tell us. We will not let you suffer needlessly. Do-hyun's eyes softened slightly. Thank you, doctor. Dr. Tilla gathered her surgical tools. Dr. Voss prepared the localized anesthetics. They would numb the specific areas they worked on. But the human would remain awake. He would feel pressure. He would feel movement. He would know everything that was happening to his body. Most patients would go into shock. Most patients would scream and thrash and beg for the pain to stop. But as the doctors began their work, Kang Do-hyun lay perfectly still. His jaw was clenched tight. His hands gripped the sides of the bed. Sweat covered his face. But he did not move. He did not cry out. He simply endured. 20 minutes into the procedure, Ren received another message. He read it and his whole body relaxed. "Dr. Tilla," he said. "The rescue team has reached the crash site. They have found the crew. All three are alive." Do-hyun's grip on the bed loosened. A single tear ran down his face. "Thank you," he whispered. But he was not speaking to the doctors. He was speaking to himself. To his broken body that had carried him across 6 kilometers of hell. To his stubborn will that had refused to give up. He had done it. His crew was safe. Now, finally, he allowed himself to rest. But even then, he did not fall unconscious. He simply closed his eyes and breathed, his vital signs finally beginning to stabilize. Dr. Tilla continued her work. But her hands were not as steady as before. She had seen something today that she would never forget. Something that would change everything she thought she knew about the universe and the creatures in it. She had seen a human who refused to break. And she was beginning to understand why the galaxy should pay attention. News traveled fast on Harmony's Rest. By the time the rescue shuttle returned with Do-hyun's crew, the whole station knew what had happened. The story spread from deck to deck, from species to species, growing stranger with each telling. A human had walked into the medical bay with 17 broken bones. A human had crossed 6 kilometers of hostile terrain while his body fell apart. A human had flown a shuttle while bleeding internally. A human had refused sedation during surgery just so he could stay awake until his crew was safe. Some believed the story. Some did not. Some were too afraid to think about what it meant. In the Commerce District, a young Malorian trader named Siyu watched the footage on a public screen. The security cameras had captured Do-hyun's arrival at the medical bay. She watched him walk through those doors, covered in blood and burns. She watched him smile at the terrified aliens. She watched him sit down and wait his turn. Siyu was young. She had only traveled among the stars for 5 cycles. She had been taught many things about humans. She had been taught that they were primitive. She had been taught that they were weak. She had been taught that they came from a harsh, dangerous world, and that this made them strange and unpredictable. But no one had taught her about this. He saved his crew, she whispered to herself. He was dying. And he thought of others first. An older Malorian stood nearby. He heard her words and shook his head. "Don't admire them, child. The humans are dangerous. They do not know their limits. They do not respect the natural order of things." Siyu looked at him. "Is that dangerous? Or is that brave?" The older Malorian had no answer. Far across the station, in the diplomatic wing, Ambassador Veth of the Corvani Empire watched the same footage. But her reaction was very different. Veth was tall and elegant, with smooth gray skin and eyes that missed nothing. She had served as an ambassador for 20 cycles. She had negotiated treaties and trade agreements across half the galaxy. She understood power. She understood weakness. She understood what made species rise and fall. And she understood that what she was seeing was deeply, deeply troubling. "This is why humans must be watched," she said to her assistant. A younger Corvani named Ten. "Look at him. His skeleton was shattered. His body was failing. Any other species would have surrendered to the inevitable. They would have called for help and waited. Or they would have simply died. But he didn't die," Ten said quietly. "No, he didn't." Veth's voice was cold. He walked through conditions that should have killed him. He flew a ship when he could barely move his arms. He refused to lose consciousness even during surgery. She turned away from the screen. What kind of species does that? What kind of creature ignores every signal its body sends? What kind of mind can override such complete physical destruction? Ten did not answer. He was afraid of the question. He was more afraid of the answer. "We have been too careless with the humans," Veth continued. "We let them spread across the stars. We let them build colonies and trade routes. We thought they were harmless. We thought they were just another young species, finding their place in the galaxy." She paused. "We were wrong. What do you suggest, Ambassador?" Veth was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was thoughtful. "Nothing. Yet. But I will send a report to the Empire. They need to know what humans are capable of. They need to understand the threat. In the medical bay, Dr. Tilla was finishing her work on Do-hyun. The surgery had taken 3 hours. She had stopped the internal bleeding, reinflated his lung, and stabilized the worst of his fractures. The regeneration machines would do the rest over the next several days. Do-hyun was awake through all of it. His face was pale and covered in sweat. His body trembled with exhaustion. But his eyes remained open, watching the monitors, waiting for news of his crew. When the rescue shuttle finally docked, Dr. Tilla received word immediately. "They're here," she told Do-hyun. "Your crew is on the station. They're being brought to the medical bay now." Do-hyun closed his eyes. His whole body seemed to collapse inward with relief. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you." The doors opened minutes later. 3 humans were brought in on hovering stretchers. Dr. Tilla directed each one to a treatment area. She began assessing their injuries. Park Yoonji was first. She was a woman in her late 20s, with short black hair and a fierce expression even in unconsciousness. Her left arm was badly broken. The bones had been crushed by falling debris. She would need extensive reconstruction, but she was alive and stable. Kim Jae-woo was second. He was older, maybe 40, with gray starting to show at his temples. His head wound had been bleeding heavily, but the rescue team had managed to stop it. The scans showed a serious concussion, but no skull fracture. He would need rest and monitoring, but he would recover. Yoon So-mi was third. She was the youngest, barely 22, with long hair that was now tangled and dirty. Her physical injuries were minor, just cuts and bruises, as Do-hyun had said, but her psychological state was concerning. She had not spoken since the rescue team found her. She had not moved. She simply stared at nothing, her eyes empty. Dr. Tilla assigned each patient to a doctor. Then she returned to Do-hyun. "Your crew is safe," she said. "Unji will need surgery on her arm, but she will keep the arm. Jae-woo has a concussion, but no permanent damage. So-mi is in shock, but we have specialists who can help her." Do-hyun nodded slowly. Tears were running down his face now, but he made no move to wipe them away. "Can I see them?" he asked. "Not yet. You need rest. Your body has been through too much." "Please," his voice cracked. "Just for a moment. I need to see them with my own eyes. I need to know they're really okay." Dr. Tilla hesitated. Every medical instinct told her to refuse. The human needed to sleep. He needed to let his body begin the long process of healing. Moving him now could cause complications, but she looked at his face. She saw the desperate need there. This was not about his body. This was about his heart, about his soul. He had walked through hell to save these people. He needed to see them. 5 minutes, she said finally. "And you will use a hovering chair. You will not walk." Do-hyun agreed. Ren brought the chair, and together they helped the human into it. The motion caused him obvious pain, but he did not complain. He simply gritted his teeth and waited for it to pass. Dr. Tilla guided the chair through the medical bay. They passed Unji's treatment area first. The engineer was awake now, her arm already encased in a regeneration sleeve. When she saw Do-hyun, her eyes went wide. "You absolute fool," she said. Her voice was weak, but filled with emotion. "You could have died out there, but I didn't." Do-hyun managed a small smile. "How's the arm?" "It hurts." She looked at the regeneration sleeve. "The doctors say it will take a few weeks to heal completely, but I'll be okay." Her eyes met his. "Because of you," Do-hyun shook his head. "Because of all of us. We survived together." Do-hyun. Do-hyun. Do-hyun shook his head. They moved on to Jae-woo's area. The navigator was sitting up, holding a cold pack to his head. He looked tired and confused. But his eyes cleared when he saw Do-hyun. "Captain," he said. "You made it." "I'm not the captain," Do-hyun replied. "You are now." Jae-woo's voice was firm. "Anyone who does what you did is a captain in my book." They found Somi last. She was lying on her bed, staring at the ceiling. She did not react when they approached. "Doctor." Tilla had seen this before. Trauma could do terrible things to the mind. Sometimes people retreated so far inside themselves that they could not find their way back. Do-hyun reached out and took Somi's hand. His touch was gentle, despite the pain it must have caused him. "Somi," he said softly, "I'm here. We're all here. We're safe." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, Somi's eyes moved. They focused on Do-hyun's face. Recognition flickered in them. Awareness. "Life. You came back," she whispered. "You said you would. And you did. I always keep my promises." Somi's face crumpled. She began to cry. The sound was quiet at first, then louder, great heaving sobs that shook her whole body. But Dr. Tilla knew these were not bad tears. These were healing tears. The walls inside Somi were breaking down. She was coming back to herself. Do-hyun held her hand through all of it. He did not speak. He did not need to. He was simply there. Present. Solid. Real. Dr. Tilla watched this scene and felt something change inside her. She had spent her whole life studying bodies, bones, and blood, and organs, the physical machinery of life. But she was seeing something now that went beyond the physical. She was seeing love. Not romantic love, but something deeper. The love of people who had faced death together. The love of a crew who had become a family. The love that made a man walk across 6 kilometers of rock with 17 broken bones. This was what humans were, she realized. This was their true strength. Not their stubborn bodies or their impossible willpower, but their hearts. Their fierce, burning hearts that refused to abandon the people they cared about. Outside the medical bay, the station continued to buzz with news of the human. In the trading halls, merchants whispered about what they had seen. In the diplomatic quarters, ambassadors sent urgent messages to their governments. In the maintenance tunnels, workers stopped to discuss the impossible story. Some felt fear. Some felt wonder. Some felt both at the same time. But one young Malorian trader named Siyu felt something different. She felt inspired. She found her way to the medical bay late that night. The guards tried to stop her, but she showed them her trading license and explained that she had supplies that might help the human patients. It was a small lie, but it got her through the door. She found Dr. Tilla outside one of the treatment rooms. "Doctor," Siyu said, "I'm sorry to bother you, but I wanted to know about the human. The one who walked through the moon." Dr. Tilla studied the young Malorian. "Why do you want to know?" Siyu thought about the question. "Because everyone is afraid of him. They see a monster. They see something dangerous." She paused. "But I saw something else. I saw someone who loved his friends so much that he refused to die. I want to understand that. I want to know how to be that brave." Dr. Tilla was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Come with me," she said. "I will show you." She led Siyu to a window that looked into Do-hyun's recovery room. The human was finally asleep. His body connected to half a dozen machines. His crew's beds were arranged around him, close enough that they could see each other when they woke. "He is not a monster," Dr. Tilla said. "He is not a threat. He is simply a human. And humans, I am learning, are something we do not fully understand yet." "What do you mean?" Dr. Tilla watched the sleeping human. "They come from a world that tried to kill them every day. Extreme temperatures, dangerous predators, violent weather, diseases that could wipe out entire populations. Their planet is what we would call a death world. And yet, they survived. They more than survived. They thrived. How? By being exactly what he is, stubborn, determined, unwilling to accept defeat." Dr. Tilla turned to look at Siyu. Most species would look at 17 broken bones and think, I cannot go on. Humans look at the same situation and think, I must find a way. It is a fundamental difference, a profound one. Siyu looked at the sleeping human. She thought about his journey across the moon. She thought about the pain he must have felt, the fear he must have fought, the will that carried him forward when his body begged him to stop. I want to be like that, she said softly. I want to have that kind of strength. Dr. Tilla put a gentle hand on her shoulder. Then watch him. Learn from him. And perhaps, someday, you will find that strength in yourself. The night grew quiet around the medical bay. The machines hummed their soft songs. The patients slept their healing sleep. And somewhere in the darkness of space, a story was being born. A story about a human who would not break. A story that the galaxy would never forget. 3 days passed on Harmony's rest. The medical bay became the center of the station's attention. Aliens of every species found reasons to walk past the windows, hoping to catch a glimpse of the famous human. Kang Do-hyun remained in his recovery room, his body slowly healing under the care of the regeneration machines. The bones were knitting back together. The internal damage was repairing itself. The burns were fading, but the process was slow, and he spent most of his time lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking his crew was healing too. Park Yoonji's arm was responding well to treatment. The doctors said she would regain full use of it within a month. Kim Jae-woo's concussion was fading, and his memory had returned completely. He spent his time reading reports about the pirate attack, trying to understand what had happened and how they could have avoided it. Yoon Somi was the slowest to recover. Her body was fine, but her mind was still fragile. She had nightmares every night. She woke up screaming, convinced that she was still trapped in the cargo bay, waiting to die. The station's psychological specialists worked with her daily, helping her process the trauma, but she was getting better, a little every day. On the third afternoon, Do-hyun had a visitor he did not expect. The door to his room opened, and a tall Corvani entered. He wore a military uniform, clean and pressed and covered in medals. His face was calm and controlled, showing no emotion. He was introduced as Commander Vaughn, a military attaché from the Corvani Empire. Human, the commander said. I have heard much about you. Do-hyun looked at him warily. Good things, I hope. Interesting things. Vaughn walked around the room, studying the medical equipment. 17 broken bones. 6 kilometers across hostile terrain, a shuttle flight while bleeding internally. He paused. These are impressive achievements. I wouldn't call them achievements. I was just trying to survive, and that is what makes it impressive. Vaughn turned to face him. The Corvani Empire has watched humanity for many cycles. We have studied your history, your biology, your society. We believed we understood you. We were wrong. Do-hyun said nothing. He had a feeling he knew where this was going. The Empire would like to offer you a position, Vaughn continued. A consulting role. You would help us understand human capabilities. You would participate in tests and studies. In exchange, you would receive substantial compensation. More credits than you could earn in a lifetime of cargo hauling. You want to study me, Do-hyun said flatly. We want to understand you. Humans are a mystery, and mysteries can be dangerous. By working with us, you could help prevent misunderstandings, conflicts, perhaps even wars. Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. He looked at the Corvani commander, at his perfect uniform and his careful words. He thought about what was really being offered. You're not interested in preventing conflicts, Do-hyun said finally. You're interested in learning how to fight humans, how to break us, how to kill us. Vaughn's expression did not change. You are perceptive. I'm not stupid. Do-hyun shook his head. Think carefully. This is a generous offer. I said no. Do-hyun's voice was firm. I'm not going to help anyone figure out how to hurt my people. Find another lab rat. The commander stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Very well. I respect your decision, even if I disagree with it. He turned toward the door. But remember, human. The galaxy is watching you now. What you do next will matter. He left without another word. Do-hyun let out a long breath. His hands were shaking. The encounter had left him feeling cold and exposed. He had known that aliens saw humans as strange and different, but he had not fully understood how much fear lay beneath their curiosity. The next visitor came an hour later. This one was very different. He was a Veloci merchant, round and soft, with dozens of small tentacles that waved constantly as he moved. His name was Grath, and he had made a fortune trading in rare goods. He entered the room with a wide smile and an air of friendly enthusiasm. "Human, I am so pleased to meet you." Grath's tentacles wiggled with excitement. "Your story has spread across the station. Across the sector, in fact. You are famous." "I didn't want to be famous," Do-hyun said tiredly. "Ah, but fame brings opportunity." Grath moved closer, his eyes bright with interest. "I represent a group of investors who are very interested in human biology. Not for military purposes, no. For medicine. For science. Your species has remarkable healing abilities, remarkable pain tolerance. If we could understand these things, we could help countless lives across the galaxy." Do-hyun sighed. "Let me guess. You want to study me?" We want to partner with you. You would share your knowledge, your experiences, your secrets. In exchange, we would make you wealthy beyond imagination. Think of what you could do with such resources. A new ship, better equipment, protection for your crew. Secrets. Do-hyun almost laughed. Grath's tentacles waved skeptically. "Surely there is more. Some genetic enhancement? Some special training program?" "No. Humans evolved on a harsh planet. We had to be tough to survive. That's all." End quote. "We had to be tough to survive." The merchant was silent for a moment, processing this. "You mean to say that your remarkable abilities are simply natural? That all humans are capable of what you did? Most of us. Not all of us would make the same choice. But most of us could, if we had to." Grath's eyes went wide. He took a step back, his tentacles suddenly still. For a moment, he looked almost afraid. "I see," he said quietly. "I see." He gathered himself and forced another smile. "Well, the offer remains open. Think about it." He left quickly, moving faster than his round body suggested was possible. Do-hyun lay back against his pillow and closed his eyes. He was so tired. Not just physically, but emotionally. Everyone wanted something from him. Everyone wanted to understand him, use him, study him. They treated him like a specimen, like a weapon. Like anything except a person. He heard the door open again and felt anger rise in his chest. "I already said no. I'm not interested in any more offers. Good thing I'm not here to make one." Do-hyun opened his eyes. Eunji stood in the doorway, her healing arm still in its regeneration sleeve. She was dressed in patient clothes like him, but there was color in her cheeks and fire in her eyes. "Heard you had visitors," she said, walking into the room. "Want to talk about it?" "Not really." "Tough." She sat down in the chair beside his bed. "I'm your engineer. It's my job to fix things. And right now, you look like you need fixing." Do-hyun couldn't help but smile. "Is that how engineering works?" "It is when I do it." She studied his face carefully. "The Corvani guy wanted to recruit you, didn't he? Turn you into a research subject?" "Yeah, and the Veloci wanted the same thing, just with more money." "Basically." Eunji nodded slowly. "They're scared of us. All of them. They see what you did, and they don't understand it. And things they don't understand, they want to control." "I know." Do-hyun stared at the ceiling. "But I just did what anyone would have done." "No." Yoonji's voice was sharp. "No. Do-hyun. That's not true. Most people would have called for help and waited. Most people would have given up. You didn't. You dragged your broken body across 6 kilometers of rock to save us. That's not normal. That's not ordinary. That's something else. What is it then? Unji was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was soft. My grandmother used to tell me stories about the old days on Earth. Before the first space flights. Before we joined the galaxy. She said that humans had always been like this, that we had always faced impossible odds and found ways to survive. Floods and fires and wars and plagues. Over and over again. We should have died out. But we didn't. She leaned forward, her eyes intense. You know why? Because there were always people like you. People who refused to quit. People who would walk through fire to save the ones they loved. That's what makes us human. Do-hyun. Not our bodies. Not our biology. Our hearts. Do-hyun felt his throat tighten. He thought about his mother. About the words she had always spoken when times were hard. Pain is temporary, he said quietly. Regret lasts forever. Unji nodded. Your mother's words? Yeah. She raised me alone after my father died. He was a rescue diver. He died saving a child from a flooded building. Do-hyun's voice cracked. I was 12. I never forgot what he did. What he gave up. He was a hero. A real hero. Not famous, not special, just a man who couldn't walk away from someone in trouble. And you're just like him. I tried to be. Do-hyun wiped his eyes. When the ship crashed, when I saw you trapped and hurt, I knew I couldn't stay. I knew I had to do something. Even if it killed me, because if I had stayed, if I had given up, I would have spent whatever time I had left, knowing that I could have done more. And that would have been worse than dying. Unji reached out and took his hand. Her grip was strong despite her injury. Then stop apologizing for what you did, she said. Stop trying to explain it away. You saved us. You're a hero. Accept it. I don't feel like a hero. Heroes never do. She smiled at him, warm and genuine. That's how you know they're real. They sat together in silence for a while. The machines hummed around them. The station moved through space, carrying them all forward into an uncertain future. Eventually, Yoonji spoke again. Jae-woo thinks we should stay together. The 4 of us. Find a new ship. Start a new crew. Really? He says any group that can survive what we survived shouldn't split up. I think he's right. She squeezed his hand. What do you think? You want to keep flying with us? Do-hyun thought about it. He thought about the crash. The pain. The endless kilometers of rock. He thought about the fear he had felt. The desperation. The absolute certainty that he would not give up. He thought about his crew. His friends. His family. Yeah, he said finally. I'd like that. Unji smiled again. It was the best thing he had seen since the nightmare began. Then rest up, she said, standing. We've got a lot of work to do. Ships don't buy themselves. She walked toward the door, then stopped and looked back. And Do-hyun? Thank you. For everything. She left before he could respond. Do-hyun lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling. But for the first time in days, he didn't feel tired. He didn't feel heavy. He felt something warm growing in his chest. Hope. The galaxy might not understand humans. They might fear them and study them and try to control them. But that didn't matter. What mattered was the people right here, right now. The crew he had saved. The friends he had found. Everything else was just noise. Do-hyun closed his eyes and, finally, allowed himself to rest. He had earned it. 2 weeks had passed since the crash. The medical bay was quiet now. Most of the patients had been discharged. The machines had done their work. The bones had healed. Kang Do-hyun stood in front of the mirror in his recovery room, looking at himself for the first time in days. He looked different. Thinner. Older. There were new lines around his eyes and new silver in his hair that had not been there before. But his body worked. His legs held him up. His arms moved without pain. The 17 broken bones had become 17 healed bones. Stronger than they were before thanks to Malorian medical technology. He was whole again. Damaged, but whole. A knock came at his door. Dr. Tilla entered, her 4 hands full of datapads and medical files. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Good." "Better than good." "Actually." Do-hyun turned away from the mirror. "Your doctors do excellent work. The machines did most of it. Your body did the rest." Dr. Tilla set down her datapads. "I have submitted your case to the Galactic Medical Journal. It will be published next cycle." "Making me famous again?" "Making you understood." She walked closer, her silver eyes studying him. "I have been a doctor for 30 cycles. I thought I knew everything about the limits of biological life. You proved me wrong." Do-hyun shrugged. "I was just trying to survive." "No, you were doing much more than that." Dr. Tilla's voice was serious. "I studied your scans, Do-hyun. I analyzed every piece of data we collected. Your body should have shut down within the first kilometer. The pain signals alone should have overwhelmed your nervous system. But they didn't, because I ignored them, because you refused to accept them." She stepped closer still. "I found something in your brain scans. Something remarkable. When you were pushing through the pain, certain areas of your brain became more active. Areas associated with love, with protection, with purpose. Your brain literally rewired your pain response to protect the people you cared about." Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. He thought about the journey across the moon, the endless steps, the fire in his bones. The only thing that had kept him moving was the thought of his crew, of Yoonji and Jaewoo and Somi, waiting for him, counting on him. "Is that unusual?" he asked. "For most species?" "Yes. The brain is designed to protect itself. When damage becomes too great, it shuts down to preserve what it can." "Doctor," Tilla shook her head slowly. "But human brains are different. They can override that response. They can choose purpose over survival. They can burn themselves out to save others." "That sounds dangerous." "It is dangerous. It is also remarkable." She met his eyes. "You are remarkable, Kang Do-hyun. And I wanted you to know that before you leave." The door opened again. Unji, Jaewoo, and Somi entered together. They were all dressed in clean clothes. Their injuries healed. Their faces bright. Unji carried a datapad. Jaewoo had a bag slung over his shoulder. Somi was smiling for the first time since the crash. "Ready to go, Captain?" Unji asked. Do-hyun shook his head. "I keep telling you, I'm not the captain, and we keep ignoring you." Jaewoo grinned. "It's been decided. You're in charge now." "I didn't agree to that." "Too bad." Somi's voice was soft but sure. "You saved our lives. You earned the position. Now accept it." Dr. Tilla watched the exchange with amusement. "It seems you have no choice in the matter." Do-hyun looked at his crew, his friends, his family. They had been through hell together. They had come out the other side, and now they were choosing to stay together. To keep flying. To face whatever came next. How could he say no to that? "Fine," he said. "I'm the captain. But I'm going to be terrible at it." "We know," Yoonji replied. "That's why you have us." They left the medical bay together, walking through the corridors of Harmony's Rest for the last time. The station was busy around them. Aliens of every species moved past, going about their daily business. Some of them stopped to stare at the humans. Word had spread far and wide. Everyone knew the story now. In the trading halls, merchants whispered about the cargo pilot who had walked through death. In the diplomatic quarters, ambassadors discussed what this meant for human-alien relations. In the maintenance tunnels, workers repeated the tale to each other, each telling more dramatic than the last, but the humans ignored it all. They walked with their heads high, their steps steady, their eyes forward. They had nothing to prove. They had already proved everything that mattered. The docking bay was crowded when they arrived. A small crowd had gathered. Aliens who wanted to see the famous humans before they left. Dr. Tilla was there. Ren stood beside her, his datapad clutched to his chest. Even Commander Vaughn had come, watching from a distance with his unreadable Corvani face. And in the front of the crowd, a young Malorian trader named Siyu was waiting. She stepped forward as Do-hyun approached. Her eyes were bright with emotion. "I wanted to say goodbye," she said. "And thank you." "Thank you?" Do-hyun was confused. "For what?" "For showing me what courage looks like." Siyu's voice trembled slightly. "I have spent my whole life being told that humans are dangerous, that you are unpredictable and strange and should be avoided. But you showed me something different. You showed me that humans are brave, that you love fiercely, that you never give up on the people you care about." She took a deep breath. "I want to be like that. I want to have that kind of heart. So thank you for showing me it's possible." Do-hyun didn't know what to say. He looked at this young alien, so earnest and hopeful, and felt something warm spread through his chest. "You don't have to be like humans," he said gently. "You just have to be the best version of yourself. That's enough. That's always enough." Siyu nodded, tears forming in her large eyes. "I'll remember that." She stepped back into the crowd. Dr. Tilla took her place. "Take care of yourself, human," the doctor said. "Try not to break any more bones." Do-hyun smiled. "I'll do my best. And take care of your crew. They are your family now." "I know." He looked back at Yoonji and Jae-woo. "And Somi. I'll keep them safe." "I promise." Dr. Tilla nodded. "I believe you will." They shook hands, human and Malorian, two species who understood each other a little better than they had 2 weeks ago. The crew boarded their new ship. It was called Soul's Dream, purchased with pooled funds from the crew and donations from across the galaxy. People they had never met had sent credits after hearing their story. It was strange and humbling and wonderful. The ship was smaller than their old one, but it was solid and fast and new. Unji had already gone through every system twice, making sure everything worked perfectly. Jae-woo had programmed the navigation computer with a dozen different routes. Somi had set up the communication arrays and tested them repeatedly. They were ready. Do-hyun took his place in the pilot seat. It felt right. It felt like coming home. "Okay," he said, his hands moving over the controls. "Where do we go first?" Jae-woo pulled up a star chart. "There's a cargo run available in the Nebula sector. Good pay, low risk. Perfect for getting our feet wet." "Sounds good." Do-hyun looked at his crew. "Any objections?" No one spoke. They all just smiled. "Then let's go." The ship pulled away from Harmony's Rest, its engines humming with power. The station grew smaller behind them, shrinking until it was just another point of light in the vast darkness of space. A message came through the communication system. Somi's fingers danced over the controls. "It's from the station," she said. "From Dr. Tilla. Put it through." The doctor's voice filled the cockpit, clear and warm. "Soul's Dream. This is Harmony's Rest. Safe travels to you and your crew. May you find fair skies and good fortune. And know this. The galaxy is watching. Some of us are afraid of you, but some of us..." There was a pause. "Some of us want to be brave like you." The message ended. The cockpit was silent. Unji spoke first. "That was nice." "Yeah." Do-hyun's voice was thick. "It was." He set the course and engaged the engines. The stars stretched around them, becoming lines of light as the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. The universe unfolded before them, vast and unknown and full of possibility. Do-hyun thought about everything that had happened: the crash, the pain, the endless walk across the moon, the fear and the desperation, and the absolute refusal to give up. He thought about his crew, his friends, his family. He thought about his father, the rescue diver who had died saving a child. He thought about his mother, who had raised him alone and taught him that pain was temporary but regret lasted forever. He thought about being human. It wasn't about strength or speed or the ability to ignore pain. It wasn't about biology or evolution, or surviving on a death world. It was about something simpler than that. Something deeper. It was about love. The fierce, burning love that made people do impossible things. The love that turned ordinary men and women into heroes. The love that held families together through fire and flood and war and plague. That was what made humans special. Not their bodies, but their hearts. And as long as humans had hearts like that, Do-hyun knew they would be okay. The galaxy might fear them, or study them, or try to control them. But it wouldn't matter. Because humans would always find a way. They would always survive. They would always endure. Pain is temporary, he thought, but humanity is forever. The ship flew on, carrying 4 humans into the unknown. Behind them, a medical station floated in the darkness, full of aliens who had witnessed something they would never forget. And somewhere out there, in the countless worlds of the galaxy, the story was spreading. The legend was being born. The story of a man who walked 6 kilometers with 17 broken bones. The story of a species that refused to break. The story of humanity. And it was only the beginning.